What's going on, everybody? My name is Monatui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our GBA Week 12 match versus George, aka Septile MC, coach of the San Francisco Arcaniners. If you have not done so already, please check out his channel in the description below. He is an incredible battler, both in the format and in standard play, and this is a very crucial game to be playing. If I win, then I'm guaranteed for playoffs. If I lose, it is still up in the air, because if I lose and Dan wins, then Dan is in the playoffs. I believe Dan has to win 1-0, no, more than 1-0, because then if he wins 2-0, we tie on record and differential, but he beat me in head-to-head, so I believe he moves on to the playoffs, and if he wins more than that, he just has a better differential and record, and he gets to be in the playoffs. So, like I said, this is a very, very crucial game. I have to win this. Also, something I didn't mention in my team builder is if I win this game by 1-0, no, I have to win this game by 2-0 or more, I actually take first place in my division, which is really cool. I'd actually be surpassing George. George would be making playoffs as well, but it'd be cool to get top of the division. Have to play the I believe I'd be playing the 2 seed instead of the 4 seed, so that'd be pretty cool. But regardless, for a quick rundown of my team, we have our Life Orb Azumarill, we have our specially defensive Roar Pilots line, we have our Expert Belt Adamant Hitmonchan, we have our Scarfed Garchomp, our Mega Manectric with Hidden Power Water, and our Trick Spadef Bronzong with a Choice Band. So, looking at his team, George brought his Manaphy, Infernape, Snorlax, Mammothsline, Electabuzz, and Forretress. So, he's brought about the team I expected. I kind of expected Nidoqueen to be in there as well, but since he does have Mammothsline, he doesn't necessarily need both of his ground types, so this definitely makes sense. The priority is really nice for things like my Garchomp, and Hitmonchan he can hit Hitmonchan before I hit it with a Bullet Punch, which is really nice, can pick off a weak Mega Manectric, so I definitely see why he has that over Nidoqueen. But I do have a relatively good response to that, being my own Azumarill, which can check it offensively. Manectric, like I said, has the Hidden Power Water. Hitmonchan has the Bullet Punch to get some nice damage off on it. So hopefully I'll be able to check that thing. Electabuzz can possibly be annoying, but I can deal with it. And then there's the Forretress, which I also expected to come because it walls a decent portion of my team. So, with that being said, let us now get into the game. Like I said, this is an extremely important match. We win, we are guaranteed for the playoffs, so I'm going to be trying my best during this game. So, I'm going to lead with my Azumarill just to get a big hit off of something, and if he leads with Forretress, I can break its 30, as he does end up leading with the Forretress. I predict him to just get up rocks or spikes or toxic spikes, whatever he wants to do. So, I'm going to go for that Life Orb Waterfall, gauge his spread, break his 30, and that actually does a very nice chunklet of damage as he goes right for the Toxic. Now keep this Toxic in mind because it's going to come into play later. Now, he reveals to be leftovers, so he's not Aquaberry or Rocky Helmet or anything like that. Well, obviously he's not Rocky Helmet because we would have seen the waterfall damage, but he gets a Toxic off onto me, which is fine. I am now going to switch out into my Manectric here, just so that I can threaten this thing immediately. He can't Volt Switch on it, or else he gives me the +1. I didn't think he'd go right for Explosion, so there's that. And here, I get my Mega Evolution off, which is very nice, and I'll be able to go right for the Volt Switch. I don't think he's going to go out into his Mammothsline, because the Flamethrower is very obvious. If he did go out into Mammothsline, I'd predict that thing to be something like Assault Vest, but he doesn't. He goes right out into his Electabuzz, which is a very good middle play, because as you're going to see, and if you watch his team builder, you know this, he is actually in a Violite Electabuzz, so he is going to be able to take this hit very well, pretty much effortlessly, as you're going to see here. I go right for the Volt Switch, and it just does absolutely nothing. So he's definitely a Violet, which is good to know, because my Scarfed Garchomp will be able to outspeed it, because he is not Scarfed himself, and I'm going to go right out into this Garchomp. Now, I'm going to make kind of a weird play here, but I'm going to explain my thought process on it. He has no ground immunity on his team. He has no ground resist on his team. It 2 KOs pretty much everything, bar like a bulkier version of Snorlax, like a more physically defensive Snorlax. I actually end up going for the Dragon Claw here, though, and the reason for that is I was a little bit paranoid that George would bring Balloon on something, particularly like a Balloon Infernape or something like that. Because if I go for an Earthquake and something like Infernape comes in, I just lose the Pokemon. It clicks Close Combat and it 2 KOs something on my team, so I can't really afford that. And I know he's not going to go Fortress because it's 2 KO'd by Earthquake from this range. So overall, I think my better play was just going for a Dragon Claw, because George knows that he has a ground weakness. Like, it's no secret to him. He absolutely knows that he has a ground weakness, and he has to cover that somehow. This would be a very good time for me to go for Earthquake, because I have no other reason to make any other play. So I'm going to go for the Dragon Claw here, as he ends up switching out, and I'm like, Going to Air Balloon Infernape. Going to Air Balloon Infernape. No, Snorlax. Shit, Air Balloon Snorlax? No. So I'm going to go for the Dragon Claw, and this ends up working out negatively for me because he's also Rocky Helmet. Also, by that damage, it looks like he is pretty much fully physically defensive, so that's going to be very annoying to deal with. So here, I'm going to go out into Pilot's Line. If he starts cursing up, I can roar him out. I can do a couple different things. I knew he was going to double into something, but I wasn't entirely sure on what. He had a couple options, as he ends up doubling out into his Manaphy, which is a very good play on his part. However, I'm going to gain back a little bit of momentum here, as I cannot let this thing set up, and I know even if he scalds me, I can take the hit. And he goes for the sub as I go right for the roar, which is really nice, because the Manaphy behind a sub was going to be extremely annoying. Now here, he is going to be roared out into his Mammoth-Line, and I can take pretty much any hit from this thing, bar like Adamant Life Orb Superpower, which I'm not expecting him to carry. So he's going to go for the knockoff, gets rid of my Eviolite, as I am just going to get up my Stealth Rock, which hopefully I can keep to stay, hopefully I can keep them there to stay, because I can pressure his Fortress relatively well. Now here, there was definitely a chance he went for a double knockoff here, predicting my Bronzong. I'm 100% sure that crossed his mind. However, I didn't think there was any chance that he would risk it. My Pilot's Line's not doing a ton for the rest of this game, so I definitely could have just sacked it off there and went for an EQ to get damage off this thing, and he knows that Mammoth's Line is very key in beating my team, so he is not going to risk any damage on this thing whatsoever. He's not going to risk me putting it in range of a Manectric attack or Zoomeril's Aqua Jet or things like that, so I think he's going to go right for the Earthquake as I go out into my Bronzong, and I am able to get this prediction correct, as he does go for the Earthquake, and of course Levitate is going to activate. Now here, he doesn't see an item, so he's probably immediately thinking that I'm Colbur Berry. However, I am Choice Banded with Trick, and that is exactly what I'm going to go for on this turn. I am just going to trick whatever wants to come in a Choice Band, which ends up being his Snorlax, which is totally fine, because like I said, if this is a Curse Lax, I do not want it to be an issue. Even if it's like a Rest Sleep Talk set, I don't want it to be an issue. Plus, this is his only real good switch into my Garchomp, and now it is crippled. So here, predicting something along the lines of a Crunch, I'm going to go out into my Hitmonchan, as he actually ends up going for the Rest, which is totally fine, because Hitmonchan actually nets itself a kill here. Like, he's locked into Rest, he can't stay in with this thing, he doesn't want to stay in with this thing, so he's going to switch out. He's going to be forced to switch out. I 2 KO the Manaphy from where it's at, I 2 KO pretty much everything from where it's at, so he's going to go out into his Fortress, which can take the Drain Punch relatively well. I wish I had Rapid Spin here, by the way. Like, I obviously don't, because I needed the move coverage, and I'm very glad I did have the move coverage, but it would have been nice just to have Rapid Spin here. I'm going to go for the Drain Punch, which is totally fine, because now I can follow that up with a Fire Punch and just knock out this Fortress. And we are starting off this game 6-5 in the lead, and his Spinner is dead, meaning my rocks are there to stay for the remainder of the game, which is going to be very nice. Now, he is going to send out his Infernape, which is going to take rocks damage, which is a little bit unfortunate. I didn't know the item on this thing. He was banded last time, and I did not want to take a banded Close Combat or a banded Flare Blitz. And my Pilot's Line's not doing much for the rest of the game. The Electabuzz isn't Choice, so if it has Focus Blast, it can knock me out and freely go for it whenever. If it has like Hidden Power Grass or something like that, it'll be able to deal nice damage to me. So there's no point in keeping my Pilot's Line anymore. I'm just going to sack it off to the Close Combat, which is totally fine, because now I will be able to send out my Mega Manectric. And here, my best play is easily just going for Hidden Power Water. It knocks out this Infernape from where it's at, and after the -1 Spadef, if he decides to make the switch out into his Mammoth Line, I'll be able to 2 KO that thing as well. But he makes the better play. The neutral play goes out into his Electabuzz as I go for the Hidden Power Water. And as you're going to see, it's going to do a decent amount of damage just because I'm actually able to score a crit, which is kind of nice. And now I'm just going to Volt Switch out. I didn't think he'd double out into his Mammoth Line there. But regardless, we're going to Volt Switch out, leaving this Electabuzz very weakened. And I thought about going into Garchomp, but I realized it was way too important to risk an HP Ice. I'm just going to go out into my Spadef Bronzong and take whatever this thing wants to do anyway, as he does end up going for the Volt Switch, which, like I said, it's not going to do a lot of damage, but it does gain him some initiative, and he now has a free switch out into his Infernape, which I do not have a switch into. Thankfully, I actually tricked the Rocky Helmet off of his Snorlax, so I'll be able to get some additional damage onto this thing, but I couldn't risk my Garchomp going into that because two banded Flare Blitzes would have hurt a lot, or at least one banded Flare Blitz would have hurt a lot, which I'm thinking he currently is. I could be wrong, but it seems like that's what he is right now. But now I do get a free switch out into my Garchomp, and knowing that his Fortress is gone, I can actually click Outrage here because I know he's going back into Snorlax. I know that almost 100%, so I'm just going to go right for the Outrage, as I have a very good chance, or I at least have a chance to 2 KO this thing. So I'm going to go for the Outrage. Also, even if I got like a 3-turn Outrage and I was locked into it, and he went out into Mammoth Line, that forces out his Mammoth Line. I can go out into something like Hitmonchan, bluff the Mach Punch. However, unfortunately for him, I am going to score a crit on the second Outrage. I'm not 100% sure on how much that rat mattered, because he was Sleep Talk, Rest, like Body Slam, and Whirlwind, I think. So the Whirlwind would have been fine. He would have needed Body Slam in order to get something there, but regardless, here he's going to go out into his Mammoth Line. And I almost stayed in and clicked Outrage, predicting something like an Earthquake, but there's no point. Hitmonchan is a little bit expendable at this point, but he's going to make that nice prediction, go for the Earthquake, and knock me out. So there are predictions on both sides that are paying off for both of us. He gets a crit. That did not matter whatsoever. He has Adamant Life Orb. Didn't matter at all. So this is a very powerful Pokemon. Here, I'm going to send out my Azumarill, and it's a little bit of a 50-50 once again, because I could go for an Aqua Jet as he stays in and I knock him out going for Earthquake, or I can go for Play Rough, predicting something like the Manphy to want to come in and knock that thing out. And I opt to go for the safer play. I attack what's in front of me, and I go for the Aqua Jet. I get that 50-50 wrong. Oh no, never mind, sorry, I'm a little bit ahead. I knew he was going to sack his Electabuzz, and I was very, very tempted to click Belly Drum there, but there was no point. I'm poisoned, I'm Life Orb, it's going to wear me down faster before I can do anything, and he has priority on his team, so there was no point. As tempted as I was to just click the Belly Drum there and possibly get a kill. But pretty much, if I click Belly Drum there, I died at the end of that turn anyway. So here, he's going to go out into Manaphy. I'm very afraid of this thing setting up a Sub, or even a Tail Glow. Probably Sub, because I'm Life Orb and Toxic, so he can just wear me down by clicking Sub. So I'm going to hard switch out into my Mega Manectric. I can take anything that this Manaphy wants to do to me, and as you're going to see, he does just fire off a safe Energy Ball. And as you're going to see, I will be able to take that. And here is another 50-50. I can go for the Thunderbolt, knock out this Manaphy, or I can go for the Hidden Power Water on the incoming Mammoth Line. I go for the Thunderbolt, as unfortunately, I get that 50-50 wrong as well, as he is going to send out his Mammoth Line, as I do go for the T-Bolt. And as you're going to see, of course, being a ground type, it's going to be immune. So here, I'm going to go for the Hidden Power Water, hoping that I can live an Ice Shard, but Mammoth Line is way too powerful for that, and he is able to knock me out with the Ice Shard. So that's another big threat to his team gone. He is now pulling this game back. So here, I'm going to go out into my Azumarill, and I said I've been making the safe plays pretty much this entire game. I think he's going to go out into Manaphy, so I'm going to click Play Rough on this turn, as he does switch out into his Manaphy. Finally, I get that 50-50 right, as he's going to go out into Manaphy, and this Play Rough is easily going to obliterate this Pokemon. So Play Rough goes off, Manaphy goes down, which is great. This is one of the bigger threats to my team. Now all I have to worry about is the Mammoth Line and the Infernape, really. So here, I'm poisoned. I'm still getting worn down. This is another very big point in the game. So here, he goes into his Infernape, pretty much his only play. His play here was to go for Mach Punch, weaken my Azumarill to the point where Ice Shard from Mammoth Line can knock me out, and then knock out my Garchomp on the following turn. However, this is also another 50-50, because he could easily predict me to switch out into my Garchomp in order to kill him with 2 Rocky Helmet hits, or 2 Rough Skin hits, and pull a double out into his Mammoth Line to just click Ice Shard and win the game. So here, it's another 50-50. I'm like, alright, made the ballsy play last time, let's just attack what's in front, or let's just make the safe play now. Let's not predict his double. I think he might think he can kill me afterwards, but it's actually rolled in my favor for Ice Shard to live after Rocks. So I'm just going to go out into my Garchomp, predicting something like a Mach Punch, because I can take... I pretty much kill this thing with Rough Skin, and if he decides to switch out afterwards, he dies to Rocks. He's actually going to reveal Fake Out, which it was surprising. He cannot knock me out with Mach Punch now, so I am going to be able to kill this thing with Earthquake. He can't switch out, he dies to Rocks on the way in, so I will be able to knock this thing out with Earthquake, which is really nice. Now, in comes his Mammoth Line. It is 2-1, I have my Garchomp, and I have my Azumarill. The plan here is just let my Garchomp go down to an Ice Shard, come in with the Azumarill, live the Ice Shard, knock him out with Aqua Jet. So here, he's going to go for the Ice Shard. It's going to knock me out, I'm Scarfed, I'm not Yachi Berry or anything like that, he's Adamant Life Orb, that kills me like 10 times over. Not 10 times over, but it kills me. So now, he's going to take Life Orb damage. Now, Azumarill is going to come out, my last Mon. You're going to see here, the HP bar drops to 34 out of 205. The max roll, the max number of damage he can do to me is 35. he has a 37.5% chance to knock me out with an Adamant Life Orb Ice Shard with my HP investment. So, all I have to do is survive this Ice Shard, get off the Aqua Jet, kill him, I die to Life Orb, we win 0-0, and we guarantee our spot for the playoffs. So, as you're going to see here, he's going to go for the Ice Shard. All I got to do is live. All I got to do is live, and we do not. And that ends the Luxrays season. Now, absolutely incredible game to George. That was such an absolutely intense game going back and forth. I held the momentum for a bit. He picked it back up, and then I was able to bring it back. This is probably one of the best games that I've ever been a part of. It was just intense back and forth, like I just said. It's hard to come up for words for this because it was just such an incredible game. Like I said, I did have a very decent... the roll was in my favor to live that Ice Shard. He only had the 37.5% chance to knock me out, but that's Pokemon, that's the game we play, it's going to happen. It's going to happen to me, it's going to happen to people I play against, it's going to happen to everybody playing this game, so I'm not too upset about that. It definitely sucks to not have my playoff spot secured, and I now rest in my fate rests in the hands of the game between Dan and Nick, but... like I said, just an absolutely incredible game. It was exhilarating. It was down to the absolute wire. So, George played very, very well. I think I prepped and I played very well. I looked back at this game a couple times and I don't really see too many misplays that I made. Maybe going hard out into Garchomp instead of my Manectric on the Energy Ball, just so that my Manectric would have stayed a little bit healthier. But if he had gone for Ice Beam there, which he was actually sub 3 attacks with Scald, Ice Beam, and Energy Ball. If he'd gone for Ice Beam there, I just lost my Garchomp, which was not good for me. So, was definitely an incredible game. Thank you very much, George, for that game. And thank you guys for watching and supporting the Luxrays for the entire season. Like I said, we may not be out of it. If Dan loses his match, or if he only wins 1-0, then we do move on to the playoff spot. We have the 4th seed in our conference, so that would be really cool, but... good luck to both of them, Nick and Dan. Dan, of course, good luck. I know he's going to be fighting as hard as he can. So, without further ado, I'm going to hop on out of here. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the battle, and I hope to see you next time.